Well, welcome everybody to the 21st episode of the Customer Ed Nugget podcast series. I'm independent learning tech analyst John Lay of Talented Learning, hosting today's show with LMS implementation expert Katya Buratovich, senior manager of implementation at LearnUpon, an extended enterprise and customer education LMS solution. Katya, welcome to the podcast. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, John. Great to be here.
Today, we're going to talk about the keys to a successful customer ed LMS implementation. Katya and myself are going to outline a few key points, 5 key points of advice to help you prepare and set off on the road to success. But let's get going. I'm wasting time. We only have 10 minutes. Katya, in terms of credibility, LMS implementations, do you think you've touched in the last 4 or 5 years?
About 1,200 in total LMS implementation, some myself firsthand, and a lot more through my team that I now manage.
Wow. Impressive. That's a pile of experience that almost nobody in the world has. And so that's why you're here today. And so we're going to let you go first. Based on all that experience, what's the number one key to a successful implementation in your opinion, Katya?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the key one for me is defining your objectives, and I like to break these out for customers into 3 prongs. So you need to look at your learning impact, your tooling impact, and then your ecosystem efficiencies. So really starting with the learning impact, defining how your learning is going to serve your organizational objectives. So what's the company trying to achieve, and how is the learning going to supplement that, be that product adoption, customer retention, those types of things. Second to that, when you move on to your tooling impact, is looking to define what role specifically the LMS is going to play within that field, and establishing clear success criteria there. So is it looking to improve training efficiency, learner engagement, enhancing the compliance training? And really the key ones with an LMS are usually scalability and replicable training, as well as increased reporting. And those are just kind of scratching the surface of what an LMS can do for you. But setting clear objectives as to what those are is really key for measuring the success of the project. And then defining your external variables, so your ecosystem efficiencies, and those will be your peoples and your systems, and how you then orchestrate your learning and your tooling and those external variables together to measure clear success.
Yeah, without a doubt, without a doubt. If it starts there, or if it doesn't start there, then how do you even know where you're going? So you're just
Yeah.
kind of floating around in the wind. And one of all the things that you mentioned, from improving training efficiency or compliance or product adoption or onboarding, as it turns out, usually in organizations, they have different stakeholders, different people that are responsible for those different areas. So while you're starting off, identifying those objectives, the key stakeholders in all those areas need to be involved early and constantly throughout the process. I think, gone are the days where you can just let your L&D team or some team do the implementation on their own. To really be strategic, you need all those folks in there all the time, sharing, and make sure that we're going to make the right decisions and not have any be upset down the road, or more importantly, be ineffective down the road because certain groups weren't involved. So my best advice is, if you're a stakeholder, make sure you're involved. If you're running the LMS implementation project, don't go solo. Get your stakeholders in early. All right. What do you think, Katya? What's another one we should focus on?
Project planning. This one is near and dear to my heart. And it's a great second to the piece we were just chatting about in terms of defining clear objectives and measures for success. I've seen so many customers stumble when they have a general sense of direction and what generally needs to be accomplished on the platform. It makes your decision-making really difficult when you don't have a clear directive. It also then leaves it open to interpretation. So mapping out clear tasks and stakeholders, so who's going to be responsible for what, and clear expectations on deliverables. And with that one, I mean the minutiae, from how the content is built to the quality, even down to like the font type, and are we using bullet points versus numbers, just to help your content be consistent across the board. you really need to think through the very detailed portions of your project plan. And along with that, really encourage everyone, be realistic with your time commitments. Don't overcommit. What is reasonably possible within your day-to-day tasks? Because it's a pipe dream to think that you're going to have 3 days a week to allocate to a new software. We've recently just implemented another software internally at LearnUpon here. And you've got to be realistic of, usually it's max an hour a day. If you're lucky, for most of us, it's actually 1 hour a week that you have. So being realistic there, and then keeping yourself and the team accountable, whether that's setting time to work together on the project or just regular checkpoints. Keeping yourself accountable to that project plan is crucial.
Yeah, without a doubt. If you try to wing it, there's nothing that's going to happen except that it'll just extend forever. You gotta manage it tightly, and almost more tightly than you think, just because of all the reasons that you said. You don't have enough time, and there's so much minutia that you're not counting on. But man, we're already running out of time on this nugget. So how about another one, real quick? What's another thing that you want your clients to focus on?
Yeah, I'll pick my last favorite, and that's change management. So with a new software, it's usually negated that there's internal change management that's needed. So not only are you rolling out a software to your customer base that's going to be new and different and a change in their process and operations, but you're doing that internally in kind, be that for your admin team or the team that administers your customers within that software. Really need to focus on building a comprehensive communication strategy for them, making sure that you've provided thorough training, and then also creating a thorough feedback loop for them so that as they have questions, as problems arise, you can easily resolve and mitigate those.
Yeah, for sure. So getting rolling that out is one of the trickiest places, and really getting everybody engaged and doing it in the right time. But one thing I wanted to bring up that even beforehand, I guess I'll pull the last point as we wrap up today, is the time to figure out your content and your data is not after contract signing. It's
Mhm.
time to figure that out is way, way before that. So doing
Yeah.
your content inventories, understanding what you have, what needs to be thrown out, what needs to be updated, getting that into the system, creating a plan, and then creating a plan for all the data that's associated, especially if you're moving from another learning management system. So past completions and trying to leverage the data that's already in your system as you move to another one. And more importantly, making sure that you know what all those touch points are in advance to CRM systems, single sign-on, gamification, social media, whatever those integration touch points are. So thinking about your content, thinking about your data, thinking about your integrations before contract signing, actually in the requirements of the LMS, is a great first step to put you on the right path to your implementation and eventually your change management. So, well, listeners, watchers, thanks again for tuning in to another episode of the Talented Learning Customer Ed Nugget podcast series. I'd like to extend a warm thank you to our guest expert, Katya Buratovich. Katya, thank you for coming here today and sharing your expertise.
Thanks for having me, John.
All right. Well, hopefully, listeners, you know a little bit more about why you need to focus on implementation and some 5 key things to get you off on the right foot. You don't get a chance to make that second impression, and you really don't want to go to your bosses and say this thing's taken 9 months to implement when you said it was going to take 30 days and not seeing any of that value. So how do you stop that? Well, you develop clear objectives and you manage those objectives. You line up your stakeholder team early and often and make sure they're involved in all the decisions. You know, when you prepare your content, you know, when you prepare your data and your integrations, and you start your change management plan early and you focus on that throughout the time. Those are 5 quick things that you can do to get off on the right foot with your new Customer Ed LMS. Listeners, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the podcast series. You can find more information about the LearnUpon Customer Ed and Extended Enterprise LMS at learnupon.com. And of course, you can find more of our fiercely independent information at talentedlearning.com. Have a great day, and we'll see you on the next.